I sat quietly at the mahogany table during our family's quarterly financial review, my simple sweater a stark contrast to my sister Rebecca's designer suit. Her corner office at Hudson Tower loomed visible through the penthouse windows behind her. And as you can see, Rebecca continued, gesturing at her portfolio presentation, my real estate holdings have tripled. Meanwhile, some of us, she glanced pointedly at me, can barely make rent. How is that little energy startup going? Mom asked with practiced concern. The one with the alternative power ideas. It's fine, I replied, checking my phone discreetly. The grid control indicators were right on schedule. Fine means failing, Rebecca smirked. Unlike my new development project. 40 stories of luxury apartments, all with guaranteed uninterrupted power supply. A notification flashed across my screen. Right on time. The penthouse lights flickered and died. Through the windows, a cascade of darkness swept across the city grid by grid. Rebecca's precious Hudson Tower went dark. What's happening? Mom gasped. The emergency broadcast system crackled to life on everyone's phones. Breaking. City power grid acquired by Winter Energy Corporation in historic deal. New ownership announces system-wide reset. Rebecca's manicured hand trembled as she tried her backup generator remote. Nothing. I stood holding up my own small remote. Looking for this. I pressed a button and her tower's lights came back on. Amazing how vulnerable luxury real estate becomes without reliable power. That's impossible, Dad protested. The city grid. Tao belongs to me, I finished. Along with the power supply to every major building in Manhattan. Rebecca's face went pale as her tower went dark again. The night was young and I hadn't even shown them the new electricity rates yet. You can't just. Rebecca sputtered, frantically dialing her building manager. Can't what? Control the power supply. I pressed another button, making the lights dance across the skyline. Interesting how quickly real estate values change when you control what makes them livable. This is illegal. Dad thundered. Actually, it's completely legitimate. I pulled up the acquisition documents on my phone. Winter Energy now owns the entire regional grid infrastructure. Those alternative power ideas you mocked? They revolutionized grid management. Mom's hand shook as she reached for her water glass. But the Utility Commission approved our takeover last week, I said. Turns out old power companies are easy to acquire when you have superior technology. Rebecca stood abruptly. Pi tenants. Now get their power from me, I finished. Including all those guaranteed uninterrupted supplies you promised. Hope you read the fine print on force majeure clauses. Through the windows, the city flickered like a chessboard as I demonstrated our grid control capabilities. Each dark sector represented millions in real estate value, suddenly dependent on my company's mercy. Speaking of contracts, I added, pulling up a document, your new development's power application is under review. Current wait time for approval is 6 to 8 months. You wouldn't dare, Rebecca hissed. The investors will probably be interested to learn their luxury project might not have power. I checked my phone again. Oh look, your tower's backup systems just failed. Apparently they weren't maintained to our new standards. The family meeting room grew eerily quiet as the implications sank in. All their wealth, all their properties, all their precious investments, suddenly at the mercy of the sister they'd mocked as poor. Now then, I stood, straightening my simple sweater, shall we discuss the new utility rates? The skyline continued its dance of light and shadow, and I hadn't even revealed our plans for the gas lines yet. This is outrageous. Rebecca grabbed her phone again. My legal team will. Will what? I watched her tower flicker. Sue the company that controls their office building's power? Bold strategy. He turned to Dad. Your utility contacts are now my employees, I cut in. Amazing how quickly loyalties shift when paychecks depend on new management. The emergency broadcast updated. Winter Energy Corporation announces complete infrastructure overhaul, service interruptions expected during system migration. System migration? Mom's voice quavered. Just a fancy way of saying I'm replacing the entire grid architecture, I explained, making another section of the city go dark. The old power companies let it decay for decades. We're bringing it into the modern age. At what cost? Rebecca demanded. That depends, I smiled, holding up my remote. How much is continuous power worth to your luxury tenants? I'm thinking of implementing surge pricing during peak hours. Dad reached for his phone. I'm calling the mayor's office. Good luck. City Hall's power is running on our provisional approval right now. I checked my watch. Their backup generators should be running low in about 3 minutes. Rebecca's perfect composure finally cracked. Those apartments are worth millions. Only with working elevators, I noted. Tell me, sis, how many wealthy tenants will renew their leases if they have to walk up 40 flights of stairs? The city grid continued its choreographed blackout, each dark sector a reminder of who really controlled the concrete jungle they thought they owned. My phone buzzed with another alert. Excuse me, the governor's calling about our infrastructure plan. Rebecca, you might want to check your building's emergency systems. They seem to be malfunctioning. Power was the ultimate luxury and I had just cornered the market. The next morning I stood in Winter Energy's new grid control center, watching real-time power consumption data flow across holographic displays. Rebecca's Hudson Tower was just one of thousands of buildings now dependent on our systems. Your family is trying to enter the building, my AI assistant reported. Their traditional credentials aren't compatible with our biometric security. I pulled up the lobby feed. Rebecca was arguing with security while waving her real estate developer ID. Mom was attempting to name-drop their social connections, while Dad kept mentioning his decades of utility board experience. Let them up, I authorized, but flag them as restricted access. They burst into my office moments later, Rebecca clutching property documents while Mom's designer handbag was stuffed with utility bills. The entire city is in chaos, Rebecca sputtered. Every major building's power supply is now under our control, I completed, bringing up the city's power grid map. Fascinating how quickly real estate empires crumble without reliable electricity, isn't it? This has to be illegal, Dad protested. Actually, it's fully compliant. I displayed our regulatory approvals. While old utility companies were fighting over ancient infrastructure, we built the smart grid of the future. The regulators practically begged us to take over. But the building systems, Mom began, are obsolete, I finished. Our AI manages power distribution more efficiently than any human operator. Your precious buildings are running on technology from last century. Rebecca thrust her documents forward. My development contracts need to be renegotiated, I cut in. Amazing how quickly attitudes change when you control the power switch. By the way, how's that guaranteed uninterrupted supply marketing campaign going? This is infrastructure terrorism, she hissed. No, this is evolution. While you were mocking my little startup, we built the most advanced power grid in the country. I projected our efficiency statistics. We've reduced outages by 90% in buildings that cooperate with our new protocols. My phone buzzed. Excuse me, the Department of Energy is calling about our national grid modernization proposal. National grid? Dad's voice cracked. Someone needs to fix America's failing infrastructure, I explained. Speaking of which, Rebecca, your new development's power application has been denied. Rebecca collapsed into a chair. The investors will need to adjust their expectations or find another power source. I checked the grid feeds. When Mom, your country club's climate control system runs through our grid now. Hope they like variable temperatures. A week later, I watched from my control room as New York's power consumption patterns rippled across our quantum displays. The old Con Edison building across the street now housed our backup systems, their aging infrastructure replaced by our AI-driven grid. Your family has been attempting to schedule an emergency meeting, my system alerted. They've tried accessing our building through 17 different methods. I pulled up the security feed. Rebecca was arguing with our AI receptionist while Mom worked her social network trying to reach me. Dad was attempting to explain traditional utility protocols to our automated system. Let them up, I authorized, and display their power consumption profiles. When they entered, their complete energy usage materialized on the smart glass walls. Every kilowatt, every surge, every backup generator test they'd ever run. Fascinating patterns, I noted, highlighting several spikes. Rebecca, those unauthorized grid modifications in your buildings? And Mom's mysterious power draws at the charity foundation. That's private utility data. Rebecca protested. Not anymore. Winter Energy's AI analyzes every electron flowing through the city. Your usage patterns were flagged immediately. I turned to Dad. Those utility relationships you were so proud of? Our system found some interesting irregularities. Amanda, Mom stepped forward. We need to discuss. Your skyrocketing power bills? I pulled up their accounts. Amazing how quickly silly alternative energy becomes serious when it controls your lights. You can't just rewrite the rules of infrastructure, Dad argued. We're not rewriting them, we're evolving them. I gestured at the displays showing our expanding network. Every switch, every circuit, every transformer now runs through our smart grid. Welcome to the future you laughed at. Rebecca clutched her property portfolio. The building code authorities are our partners now, I cut in. While you were defending old regulations, we wrote the new standards. Turns out tech companies understand modern infrastructure better than utilities ever did. My phone buzzed, another major city requesting our technology. If you'll excuse me, Chicago is calling about adopting our grid system. As security arrived to escort them out, I called after them. Oh, and Rebecca? Remember when you mocked my amateur energy ideas? Check your building's new power rates. Welcome to the future. Dad turned at the door. Amanda, please. The power industry you knew is dead, I stated flatly. The future of energy is smart, sustainable, and runs through our grid. And I'm just getting started. I watched them leave through the smart glass, their reflections distorted by endless streams of power consumption data flowing across the surface. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just disrupting an industry, it's rebuilding it in the image of everything they mocked.